Welcome to the Guru's Perspective. I'm your host, the Guru himself, and today I just want to talk about a few quick things. I want to talk about what happened in the NBA Finals, and I want to talk and give some of the stats that's going on around the WNBA as well, and give some of the playoff stats that happened with the New York Knicks and San Antonio Spurs. Let's get started by saying congratulations to the 2025-2026 NBA World Champions, and that's the New York Knicks. I definitely felt like they can win it in six. Winning it in five, I thought was pretty crazy, especially when Method Man said it because he was saying it at the halftime when they were down by like 30. After he said that, it was like, man, it was surprising to hear him say that and then turn around and be that exact thing that happened. But we know about the championship and the New York Knicks winning, but at the same time, the antics outside of the arena when New York Knicks fans seeing San Antonio Spurs fans and they was ripping off their jerseys, getting into altercations. I felt like that could have been handled better. Just a little disappointed because I feel like they will handle that with a little bit more respect and class due to the fact that this was the first championship they won since 1973. Act like you're used to it. Yeah, I mean 73 is a long time, but at the same time, you guys had the advantage. You was in the driver's seat. Just really felt like we'd see better from the New York Knicks fans. The ones who were out there doing that type of stuff. I'm not saying all the Knicks fans was like that, but the fans who were in that altercation in those situations where they were fighting and confronting San Antonio Spurs fans ripping off jersey. I believe it was a story too with a kid saying Spurs in seven, and they beat him up real bad, put that kid in a coma. Like, we got to do better than that, man. I mean, that was the sad part of the NBA championship. Definitely was happy for the New York Knicks. Now that the NBA season is over with too as well, I probably take a few weeks off, depends on what goes on in the next few days or so. It's not really too much going on after that. I mean, my boy E-Bug do a show, with the WNBA, like 15 to 20-minute segment talking about and breaking down what's going on in the league. So I won't be really getting into that as much, depending on when he comes back on the air. And at the same time, too, I want you guys to know, if anything, I won't be doing any sports shows, but that's not excluded if we do any Two Unks Talking TV, because I would definitely be willing to do those shows. As far as the sports end, I just want to give my self a refresh, kind of relax for a minute and, get ready to talk about more like the MLB and what's going on in the off season in the NFL, the things that's going on right now before we get into the regular season. All right, let's start off with the NBA championship. I want to start off by saying I want to give a little recap as well with the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks won the first game. They stunned San Antonio because every game it was weird too that San Antonio Spurs was up, or they had at least a double-digit lead and ended up losing. In the first game they lost 105-95. The next game they lost, and it was crazy because I didn't think that they were going to lose the first game the way they did. It was just, poor execution. That's, understandable for a young team who, are rookies and they're pretty young. So I'm not really discounting or saying the Spurs might not be back. I mean, this is experience right now, even though how tough it is. Most of those kids are 22. I think the oldest person on the team right now, if I'm not mistaken, was 25 in their starting lineup. And Dylan Harper is definitely one of the guys that I looked at as stepped up as one of the best players and high caliber young point guards that they have too. And with him and Stephon Castle, I think that they'll be okay. Devin Vassell, you got Victor Wembanyama, it's a lot of good guys on that team. It's a lot to look forward to right now. I was a little concerned about De'Aaron Fox and the way he didn't step up. They paid him pretty good money to be over there. Just hopefully he could get it together eventually as well. But that second game kind of surprised me too when they didn't execute like they needed to. Wemby had the ball in his hand, just couldn't get off a good shot as well. That score was 105-104. And then after that, you had the Spurs come to New York, and then it was a crazy game. Most of them went down to the wire. I think the closest game was the one by 4 points, but most of them was down to 1 point or down to the last, part of the game. The blowout game was the first game. So that final score was, it was really crazy because they were up too by like damn near 30 at the half. And to lose that big lead, I was very disappointed. I thought that they would do better than what they did. It was poor execution. I just feel like they didn't do as far as the adjustments. And I think they could have slowed it down a little bit, even though the Knicks was going real fast and they was at a fast pace and that was helping them get back in the game. They should have stopped the tempo of the game. I could say anything that I want to say because I was on the outside looking in. You never know until you actually are in that type of situation, especially being up like that. And you're thinking, okay, they will hold on to the 7-point lead because it was up like damn near 30, like I said, 29. And then you'll turn around and it's like, okay, they're only up 20. Okay, they're up 15. And you're still thinking that they're going to hold on to those leads. Just didn't happen that way. And the crazy part was when that game ended, it ended with at first Josh Hart missing the layup. It was funny to see Larry David reaction on the sideline. He was hurt because he thought that was going to be the game. But then you get the ball back. When you get the ball back, it was in Jalen Brunson's hand, the big guy who was making the big decisions and who was clutching the whole playoffs. He missed the ball. And I felt like De'Aaron Fox should have been boxing out at the time. It seemed like he wasn't alert and wasn't really paying no attention to people on the side of him. That gave my man's OG Anunoby a clear lane to come in and make that tip bucket. Nobody expected that tip basket at the end. That was incredible, especially being down like they were to actually pull off that game. They still had a chance to try to win the game. I think Stephon Castle or Vassell, man, those guys are kind of hard to tell apart at some point. Had the ball in their hand and they just lost the ball. I'm really thinking it was Stephon Castle at that point who lost the ball. And when he lost the ball, that was a ball game. Blowing a 29-point lead is really critical at this point. Yes, they're young and inexperienced, but man, you need to look at the coaches and the personnel and think, what the hell was they thinking at this time? Definitely being up that high, too, in the game. You thought they could have, just kept the momentum, made a few big buckets here or there. The biggest problem to me, too, was they were shooting way too many threes. You didn't have to shoot threes. You could have won with 2-point baskets, just staying on top of things. But they wanted to shoot threes. They were hot from the beginning of the game. I think they made 13, 14 threes, a record in, the first half, and they thought that they could keep that tempo. But when they learned that them threes wasn't hidden, they should have went and just tried to score regular perimeter or mid-range buckets. That's the thing with the new NBA, too. Everybody want to be the Golden State Warriors shooting all these threes, and they don't work for them all the time. We always say nowadays, you win by the three, you lose by the three. Those 3-point baskets they was getting was definitely low caliber after that first half. They cooled off, and they should have found another way. That being said, when they were doing that, gave the Knicks a better chance. They had the momentum, and they were just going step by step, man, and it was just like they chipped at the lead. And you looked at it and you said, man, they're only down by this much. Maybe they'll be able to make a game of it. It went from 20 to 15. And once they got it to 10, I said, uh-oh, there's a chance for the Knicks right now. It got to the point where when they were down only 4 points and it was like 4 minutes left, I said, okay, I don't know what's going on, but I got to make sure any and everybody who I know in my family who watch basketball check the game out. Woke my sister Harriet up like, yeah, Harriet, you got to check this out. I know that right now that you probably sleep, but yeah, you got to see what's going on. Because at the time, she would have thought the game was over too. I mean, Spurs was up 29. But when I told her, man, the game is tied, and there's a possibility New York can win this game, she got up. We saw the last moments of the game. It was special because of the fact is my sister Veronica and Harriet were some of the first people who put me up on basketball. I remember in the 80s, Harriet was getting with me, and I didn't know what was going on at the time, but I wanted to know what she was watching. She was watching the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Detroit Pistons. Funny thing was, I liked Magic Johnson's style of play, and I ended up being a Lakers fan at that moment, loving what he was doing, finding out he was from Michigan State actually was some things that I credited to him. And I definitely like, the Los Angeles Lakers for a pretty long time, at some point. And I enjoyed the way the game was played back in the 80s and 90s. There's some things right now that I feel like they should work on, especially the flopping. I think Adam Silver needs to step in more. He's talking about that that's the method to the game and it's a strategy. But no, man, you guys got to do better than that. Sometimes when a person pump faking a guy, they get him off the ground and they run into him for a shot. You can see that every now and then. But I remember in the series, the San Antonio Spurs series, when it came to, the game being won and just, talent versus talent. When I seen Shai Gilgeous-Alexander take 47 falls to the ground, that was ridiculous. That series was exhausting. I just wanted it to be over. But when it came down to that very last game, too, that really surprised me was I thought, okay, the Spurs will take this game at home. I feel like when they go up, they'll definitely go up and have a stranglehold on the lead. They did the same thing in every game. They'll come out swinging. They'll have the momentum, especially being back at home after having that very draining, heartbreaking loss after losing, and you were up by so many points, damn near 30, like I said, and to let that lead slip away. I said, I don't think they're going to do that in this game, but the game was still close. It's like New York will try to pull into a tie, and then San Antonio was just basically taking it away from them. But when they finally gained the momentum, the New York Knicks, it was like almost 2 minutes left in the game. I said, I don't think New York is going to lose this because I just feel like the experience is going to help New York and them going through sad situations like this, because New York was always on the ball end of losing games. They'll be up and they'll lose those type of games at some point. They had struggles with Cat and some of the best talent that they can ever assemble on the New York Knicks. And people were just saying that they don't think the New York Knicks will ever be able to get it done. New York kept their focus. They kept getting guys, role players. They got all the Villanova boys, and they just had a really good nucleus on their team. They had a good core on that team. All they really needed was the coach. And I'm not trying to disrespect Tom Thibodeau because he's an awesome coach, but he wear his starters out. And that's been one of the past things that people said about him. He's a great coach, but he leans too hard on the starters. In this case with a Mike Brown, funny thing was, him and De'Aaron Fox had the pass as well in Sacramento. We know that he made a bad play and a bad judgment play. He went up to foul Jaden Ivey. On a play, he didn't have to foul Jaden Ivey. All he had to do was just stay in his face and put some hands up and have contested defense. He went for the pump fake. Jaden Ivey, took the fake, took the shot. And when he took the shot, it was weird because right when he took that shot, I said, okay, it looked like it's about to go in. Of course, it went in. It was a 3-point play. And then he made the basket at the free throw line. It made it a 4-point play, and they closed out the game, and they won by a point. Sacramento was up pretty decent in that game, and they blew a big lead. And that's all Mike ever said. Mike Brown said, I was surprised that he, fell for the pump fake and did what he did, the execution on the play, due to the fact that I told him what to do and exactly what was going to happen at the moment, so he just wanted him to stay poised. He said he knows sometimes excitement and adrenaline kicks in, but he basically was surprised that the execution didn't go the way he had planned. And he thought that it was a dumb play. I think him saying that and being verbal the way he was as an old school coach, De'Aaron Fox took offense to that, to him saying that about him in a press conference. I don't know what happened, but then I know I've seen in the practice where they exchanged words. Next thing you know, Mike Brown's gone. Weird part about it was not only Mike Brown was gone, it wasn't like a week or so later that De'Aaron Fox went to the San Antonio Spurs. So that was actually questionable as well. But at this point, them two facing each other and seeing what happened at the very end of the playoffs, it was justice for Mike Brown because, they did get rid of him, and they feel like, okay, you get rid of him in Sacramento because he spoke his mind about a poorly executed play. But at the same time, you get rid of De'Aaron Fox, too. I thought that was pretty weird. That final score in that fifth game was 94-90, which I was very surprised because everybody looked at San Antonio. And I know some people might say, oh man, basketball is rigged. It definitely looked that way for me for so long in the season, and just how bad the refs were, the Tony brothers, and just things, the way they executed and they did things. It's like you kind of know who's going to win or who has the momentum in these type of games. And it was sad to say that it came down to a lot of these games went from the refs making bad decisions as well, or the refs taking over the games. We've seen that. Well, OKC possibly could have went to, the finals with, how bad Tony Brothers and some of the other refs was calling these calls. And you've seen it in the Detroit Pistons series with the Cavs. You've seen it all over the league. It just wasn't one series. And I'm not saying they're the reason why the Pistons didn't advance. I just felt like the Pistons wasn't ready. They didn't have enough shooters over there. And there's a lot of things that I can say and a lot of people I can blame. I just don't really feel like most of it was on the refs. A lot of it had to do with the refs and the way they called the games as well, though. I'm going to be honest with you. But in the end, I just felt like after, a long drought with the New York Knicks, it was kind of cool to see them win, especially when everybody looked at it like whoever won OKC or even San Antonio was going to take the actual, championship. I was even feeling that way at one point until I backpedaled and said, yeah, New York had an easier task to get there. They said that before about the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics, but the Boston Celtics went out there and proved those boys wrong. And this is the same thing New York Knicks did. They had a situation where they had their problems at first with the Atlanta Hawks, and everybody looked up and was like, okay, man, it's the same old Knicks. They beat them 3 games, and they beat them very bad those last 3 games. They went on and they swept the 76ers, and then after that, they went on and they swept the Cleveland Cavaliers. They possibly could have swept the San Antonio Spurs. The only problem I have with that is Cat, and I just felt like Karl Anthony Towns wasn't stepping up in the fourth quarter. But at the same time, most of those games, he was in a lot of foul trouble too as well. But that 94-90 victory was like, the icing on the cake for New York and what it stands for and all they've been through, the fans. I even heard things online where they were saying, man, y'all should even give Spike Lee one of them rings, man, because he's been true diehard from the highs and lows, he was there, so I've been hearing that suggestion. I'm definitely interested in seeing what they'll do because I feel like Spike definitely deserves something out of it. I don't know if it's a ring, that might be too much, but I definitely feel like New York in general should give him something as far as, the NBA, in general. I'm not saying the ring, it might be taking it too far. I mean, because he hasn't played a game. But yeah, I feel like they should definitely give Spike some type of love and support, man, for what he's been through all over these years, man. I mean, come on now. I'm just saying. And I want to get into some of the stats now at this point before I get off because I wanted this to be a pretty light show, nothing too heavy. This is what I was talking about too, about Karl Anthony Towns and where I feel like he should have stepped up, because I feel like if he would have stepped up in any of these fourth quarters in these games, understand too, like I said, he was in a lot of foul trouble. I mean, Wemby's a handful. But Karl Anthony Towns had 0 points in the fourth quarter in 3 games played in the 2026 NBA Finals. It ended up being more than that, if I believe. And he hasn't really been there in the fourth quarter for the most part because he haven't had the playing time because he's been in a lot of foul trouble. In the first 3 games, he scored in the first 3 quarters 50 points, 0 points in the fourth quarter. Like I said, if he could at least have 6 points in that one game that they lost in the third game, I believe that, no, this was the fourth game. I'm sorry. If he would have got that in that fourth game, I think they would have swept the San Antonio Spurs. But like I said, it's easier said than done, especially when you got to contest and you got to compete against a guy like Wemby. And we know pretty soon, within the next year or two, he's going to be the best player by far. I mean, let's be honest. But for now, I feel like this is the pain that he has to feel to grow. I know that a lot of people been, taking shots at him and saying how he's Mr. Second Place, how he was second place most times playing in France, and then now he's second place in the NBA. But I think his fortunes are going to turn around. I'm not saying they'll be back in the finals next year, but I definitely feel like Wemby's going to be an impactful person in the West and probably one of the best players in the West at this point. And he'll definitely be in a situation where eventually further down the line, he will be back. So I'm just saying that part right there. Jalen Brunson joins Kareem, Michael Jordan, Bill Walton, and Magic Johnson as players to win NCAA titles, Naismith College Player of the Year, NBA title, and NBA Finals MVP. So congratulations to Jalen Brunson. A lot of people felt like since she was a smaller caliber player, 6'1", they didn't think that you would be able to do it. I know Becky Hammond had her words about it, and other guys as well. Can't just point it on Becky. A lot of people said that. And now he went out there and he proved all those people wrong. So congratulations. This postseason, players aged 25 years old and younger have scored 1,719 points for the San Antonio Spurs. That is the most such points by any team in a single playoff run in NBA history. I would like to say congratulations on that. I mean, yes, you're the second best team right now in this situation, and I know it hurts, but that just lets you know they got a lot of talent and a lot to, strive on to, keep their head up about, because they still got a relatively young team. I love where Dylan Harper is right now, man. That dude's an assassin. I just want Stephon Castle to lay back on some of the turnovers, but other than that, I still feel like they're going to have a great future. The Spurs are the only team in NBA history to have 76 or more points in the first half and 30 or fewer points in the second half in any game, regular season or playoffs. That was the good with the bad. But I think as experience goes, man, they will definitely get that together and tighten that up. The New York Knicks, Jalen Brunson making NBA history as we speak. In 2018, the 33 overall draft pick is number one in playoff points, number one in playoff assists, number one in playoff wins, and he's number one in plus the minus differential in games as well. I felt like him stepping up and doing what he needed to do and just saying, okay, I'm going to put the team on my back. I know he heard all the things and how people talk. It was just good to see that he did so well and executed and proved all those critics wrong as well. There has been 48 total 5-game spans by teams in NBA history, regular or postseason, when they lead by 8+ points at the end of the first quarter in all 5, in 47 of 48, the team had a winning record over the 5 games, all except the San Antonio Spurs in 2026 NBA Finals. They are 1-4 in that situation, unfortunately. I wanted to take a back pedal too, and I want to talk about some things in the WNBA because it was some things that I saw and I enjoyed seeing right now from some of my favorite teams and some of my favorite players as well. But before I get into that too, I would definitely like to say the New York Knicks, when it came to the NBA playoff pool, they did pretty well as collecting the money there as well. They have things like best record in NBA, best conference, winning the championship, how many games you won in the playoffs, and by them advancing and going all the way to win the NBA finals and winning the championship. In this playoff pool, they collected $35,740,000 on top of everything. So, congratulations on that nice little extra money pool that y'all have as well. I want to get into the WNBA now and talk some of the stats that I've seen and some of the stuff that I've enjoyed watching in the WNBA. And one of the things I would like to talk about is the Atlanta Dream, how they stepped up and how well they've been playing. Two of my players that I've noticed on the big three, of course, they already had Ryan Howard, and Ryan Howard is one of the better players in the league. When she came out of college, I thought that she'll be okay at best. Didn't think that she'll take the world by storm and be as good as she has been as of late, especially in her second season. But you have Alicia Gray, you have Angel Reese, and Ryan Howard, And then you have Alicia Gray, who's been scoring 18.3 points a game, and her field goal percentage is 55%, which is very good when it comes to, a player of her caliber. She's never slowed down. But Angel Reese over there seems like what she brought to the Chicago Sky, I don't think it was appreciated because it was on a losing team. But now that she's over here with the Atlanta Dream, she has 18, almost 19 points a game, 18.8 points a game. The rebounds are ridiculous. She's averaging 15 rebounds a game, and her shooting or field goal percentage basically is 41.9%. And of course, Ryan Howard, she basically have 21 points per game, and she's averaging 45.3, field goals. So yeah, man, I feel like I want to give a shout out to them as one of the better teams in the league. They're the big three over in Atlanta. And I believe that definitely helped change the Atlanta, Dream fortunes right now. But I want to get back to Jackie Young. Jackie Young has been on a tear on her last 4 games. She scored 23 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists, 16 points, 4 rebounds, 9 assists, 27 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 29 points, 3 rebounds, and she had 6 assists. And she was one of the hottest players in the league, one of the hottest guards to be able to do it. So I would like to give her flowers right now. They was on like a really bad loss yesterday, man. The Dallas Wings had their number, beat them 3 times this year, and they took them to the shed. This time, that score yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, was 96-66, and they really been giving the defending reigning champ Las Vegas Aces, they've been giving them fits. So it's been really interesting to see how this year is right now. And I still feel like the best team, crazy as it sounds too, is still the Minnesota Lynx. And just wait till Neficia Collier get back, because if they're playing this good right now, just imagine Neficia Collier having a point guard with the caliber of Olivia Miles right now. That team's going to get very dangerous, so keep your eye out for them. And speaking of Ryan Howard, she's making history. She has surpassed Diana Taurasi as the youngest player in WNBA history to reach 2,500 points, 500 rebounds, 500 assists, 200 steals, and 100 blocks. So congratulations once again, Ryan Howards. A remarkable milestone for the league and one of their brightest stars. Alea Boston and Caitlin Clark become the first duo in WNBA history to have 30 points, double-double in the same game. Alea Boston scored 34 points, and she had 12 rebounds. Caitlin Clark had 32 points, and she had 10 assists. And that's been another reason why the Indiana Fever's been playing well. I think that they could play a little better than what they have been, but when they're on and everybody's playing at a high caliber, I still feel like they're going to be one of the teams to be reckoned with once the playoffs come around. Angel Reese is putting together a monster stretch. Over her last 3 games, she's totaled 60 points and 43 rebounds. 18 points, 17 rebounds, 17 points, 17 rebounds. I was surprised in the 3rd game that she didn't have a double-double, but she still had 25 points and 9 rebounds. She's been a force on both ends and absolutely owning the glass. I feel like she's definitely been one of the better players low-key, and people weren't really giving credit because the team's doing so well, but it's like they'll always make excuses when it comes to Angel Reese. They'll say, oh, man, she's only doing that well because she's on a good team. But even when she was on a bad team, she shined, and people still gave her flack for that. So I'm going to definitely give her flowers as we speak. Most made threes in a single WNBA game. Chelsea Gray joins a record with the 9 3-point club, tying the all-time WNBA single game mark. It's funny, too, because I've been just talking about the rookie record when Olivia Miles just beat out Caitlin Clark with 8 made threes. And now you have a 5-way tie right now for the most in history right now. The record holders are, of course, Chelsea Gray, Ryan Howard. She done it twice. Arike Agumbawale, she did it before. Jewel Lloyd and Kelsey Mitchell. So yeah, that's a pretty good club. I want to see them finally make 10 in the game. I want that record finally broken and just for somebody to stand alone as well, except for being in a five-way tie. Great call fire from deep finishing with 29 points while shooting 9 and 13 from beyond the arc in the victory over the Fire. Yeah, that was a pretty good game, man. It's impressive to watch some of the games because of the skill set. I know people be like, why do you watch the WNBA? It's not that exciting. I mean, that's your choice. That's how you feel. That's how you feel. I just love the game and I just love the way they execute. It gives me the old school mentality of when they used to play back in the good old days in the 80s because of the physicality of the game and just the way they execute. So I definitely like the game. I mean, that's just my opinion. I want to end it off by saying, too, Olivia Miles been putting together a ridiculous rookie campaign. Hell, this is even ridiculous for any player right now in the WNBA. And I've been talking about her a lot because she's worth talking about at this point. Olivia Miles is putting together one of the best seasons I've seen right now, and she's only a rookie. She had 18 and a half points per game, 5.1 rebounds per game, 5.9 assists per game, and she's 54, 39, and 92 shooting splits. So I just feel like right now what she's doing, she can easily be the player of the year or the MVP. But as a rookie, by far, I believe she'll get the rookie of the year. And she's basically flirting with a 50, 40, 90 season as a rookie. That level of efficiency and production is already looking to lead. June the 13th versus Las Vegas, she had 29 points, 4 rebounds, and an assist. June the 9th versus Dallas in a blowout victory, she had 24 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. June the 6th versus Seattle, she had 19 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. On June the 4th versus Golden State Valkyrie, she had 28 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists. And on June the 1st, she had 19 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 assists. She's an assassin, guys. If you're not watching WNBA, which I'm not asking you to if you don't favor it, but if you understand the game and you appreciate good execution and good basketball, the NBA season is over now, so there's no excuses. I mean, I'd be damned if you guys out there trying to watch the Summer League or the Combine. Let's be honest. Get those ladies a look, man. I feel like they play at a high caliber, and I don't feel like they get the credit they deserve, at this point. People diss them and, talk down on WNBA. I just never really gave it a chance. I watched a little college ball at one point and I stopped watching. Then when I finally started watching again, to see the young ladies from college that I enjoyed going to the WNBA and putting on the show and making that even more of a better product than what it has been, I like to give credit where credit is due. I would like to definitely say thank you all for chiming in today. I appreciate everyone who watching, check out the show. I would like for you to share the link, like, and subscribe. And at this point, I would like to show you how you can get in contact with me. I'm Hoovy on Instagram, WHOOVI. You can catch me there where I put up a lot of promos and the things that I'm doing right now. Sports Guru to you, I usually put the highlights and I put scores down. I'm still debating, guys. I would like for you to hit me up in my comments. And because I'm figuring I'm doing so well on my regular page right now, it's kind of exhausting trying to do my regular page and do a sports page. But I know, too, I did a lot of breaking news on both, and I feel like I'm getting a better share of the people on my page versus doing the sports page. I've been doing the sports page now for over 7, 8 years, and I'm just looking at it now like, is it worth me keeping? If you guys want me to keep the sports page, I would like for you to hit me up in my comments. But if not, I'm just debating, man. Within the next 2 months, I'll figure out what I'm going to do with that. Okay, and TikTok, Hugh.Lee6, where I put a lot of highlights from all sports, and I put a lot of promos over there too as well. And of course, you can check me out on my YouTube page too, Hugh Lee. I put a lot of things on there, what I'm working on, new promos that I'm going to put up, and just things that I've been working on right now. And know some of the projects that I've been doing, my AI stuff. And I appreciate everybody who chime in and show love and support. Shout outs to the Nighthawk Network. Rest in peace, Big Red. I heard about his death. I know everybody was saddened by hearing that in the network, the people who know and love him. And I would like to, say my condolences to his family as well. But shout outs to the Nighthawk Network. I would like to say thank you all for helping me with my Google production, making it the brand it is today. My family, friends, and loved ones, y'all all know who y'all are. And no matter what, through the good and the bad, I would like to say, don't stress, let the Lord handle the rest. Like I said, after the day, I'm debating this possibility. I might give a couple of weeks off right now when it comes to sports, just to hit the reboot or the reset button. But like I said, E-Buck, if you listening, I wouldn't mind doing a 2 Uncs Talking TV. That's it. And that's the end of my show. And I would like to say peace. And I will see you in a couple of weeks.